Stephen Edgington here from Politics UK.
The EU is in crisis. 2 years ago, Britain voted for Brexit, and now Italy, the fourth largest economy in Europe, is fighting back. They voted for a populist movement, the Five Star Movement, and another populist party who have eventually come up with an Italian government that have been proposed to the president, and the president actually rejected that. Why did he reject it? Because he disagreed with the populist and anti-EU choice for economics minister, which is essentially chancellor in Italy. And why did he reject that? Well, obviously he's a huge pro-European, pro-EU guy, but not only this, he's also had pressure from the EU itself to not allow a populist and anti-EU movement to become the Italian government, the fourth largest economy in Europe. The European Union deals with crises the same every single time. They declare democracy as bankrupt, the people as stupid or misguided, and they try and disrupt national democracies as much as possible. You've seen them do this in Ireland and in Denmark, in the Netherlands and in France, where they make them vote again until they get the right answer. And you've even got EU officials begging for Britain to cancel Brexit and to come back into the EU on much worse terms than we were already on. So the European Union are trying to prevent Italy from having a real democratic government like they did in Greece. In Greece, members of the Troika came in and ran the Greek government, and the Italian president also tried to install a technocrat as prime minister. However, the Five Star Movement and the other Italian populist party came up with a different solution, and they simply moved the economics minister into something called the European post, which is basically to do with European politics, like the foreign minister in Britain. And the president had to accept this because there are calls for the president's impeachment. Now, Italy is finally fighting back. The people are not happy with the European Union. Why would they be? They've seen 20 years of lack of growth and lack of a rise in living standards, 20 years since they've been in the euro, where basically the Italian economy, nothing has changed. Things have got worse in the last 20 years instead of better. Where this is what we see consistently about the EU. You go all around the world and the last 20 years have been huge periods of economic growth. They've been periods of prosperity for many countries around the world. Developing economies have seen so much growth. If you rule out the 2008 crash, which hurt everyone, but the European Union failed to recover from that properly, but the rest of the world did. And this is what we see with Europe. The future is not in the EU. The EU is a declining trading bloc. It's seen its percentage of the global market decline every single year in the last decades. The EU is not the future. The rest of the world is the future. And this is why people across Europe have had enough of the protectionist policies of the EU. Again, this comes back to the customs union. Should we leave the customs union? Well, of course we should. The customs union is the biggest protectionist bloc in the world. It means that Britain cannot negotiate free trade deals. It means that Britain cannot negotiate tariffs. So imagine if we were outside the customs union, we could have been able to negotiate with Donald Trump, who's now setting tariffs on many different countries, including his allies, including the European Union. But we can't actually change that because we're part of the EU. Once we leave the customs union, we can negotiate our own free trade deals around the world and negotiate against these protectionist policies from Donald Trump. And the EU, they say they're for free trade. They have so much hypocrisy within the European Union. It's absolutely ridiculous. They talk about free trade and then they spend their whole time trying to restrict free trade from anyone who doesn't accept all their basic freedoms, as they call it. The freedom to not have your own democracy and to be dictated by Brussels is no freedom at all. Brexit is just the beginning, and we will leave the European Union, and eventually I think it will be great for this country. And luckily our leadership is absolutely god-awful. Theresa May, the quicker is able to leave government and leave being the Prime Minister, her and Philip Hammond. I mean, she filled the top posts who controlled the economy, Philip Hammond, with Remainers. Herself, a Remainer. The Home Secretary, a Remainer. And for a long time, the Home Secretary, Amber Rudd, the ex-Home Secretary, used to be a huge Remainer. She filled all the major posts with Remainers. And these people, they control immigration, which is one of the biggest reasons people voted for Brexit. They control the economy, I mean, the biggest thing in the UK, the biggest job apart from the Prime Minister is being the Chancellor, and that is controlled by Philip Hammond, who has spent his whole time in government, the last 2 years, trying to prevent Brexit from properly happening. He is stopping people preparing for a no deal. He's coming up with Project Fear 2.0. You see in the Sunday Times today, apparently, if we leave without a deal, within 1 day, on a basic scenario, within 1 day, the port of Dover will collapse. And there will be medical supplies running out in Scotland and in Cornwall. Food supplies would run out within days. We would have World War III, according to David Cameron. This didn't work the first time round, so I don't understand why they're trying to do it again. How did we survive outside the European Union before we joined it in 1973? Serious question to anyone, to any Ramonas who are using this document as a serious measure to say we shouldn't leave the European Union. How did we survive without the EU? Seriously, we were one of the most prosperous nations. We joined the EU. How did we survive without it? Today, we really need to say to this government and say to people like Jacob Rees-Mogg, please pressure the government to have a proper Brexit and be tough with the Europeans. The European Union are treating us like they're the bullies in the school playground. We're not to be bullied. We have a proud history, we have a proud nation, and Theresa May needs to stand up to these people or she needs to move aside. Thank you so much for watching this video. The reason I haven't made too many videos at the moment is because I'm studying for my A-level exams, which I should be doing right now. So you can, in about a month's time, I'll be finished with them. So I will be consistently uploading lots of major, seriously good interviews and seriously good videos, mini documentaries around Europe. I've got so many brilliant plans. I've got a new camera and everything. So you guys are going to love it. Thank you so much for watching. You can donate below if you want to help out the channel. My Patreon is a really good option for me. It really helps me out. And also you can subscribe and it'll be brilliant. So thank you so much for watching and have a good day.